find the benefits for the company so that the managers understand how they can benefit from having their employees working remotely at times.
We have talked about companies having a purpose, but now we're talking about having an office with a purpose. What's the purpose of having an office?
Having the possibility of working from home optimizes my work-life balance, and that makes me happier. And when I'm happier, I'm also happier here. I'm a better employee to my managers. So, hi, and welcome to this webinar where we follow up on our last webinar where we talked about hybrid workplace strategies. You can easily watch this one without having seen the previous. If you want to see the other one from last time, we will send it to you afterwards. It's going to come in the summing mail afterwards. Today, we will talk about how to find out which hybrid scheduling strategy is best for your company. And the key takeaways from today is hopefully an idea of which model that works for you, your department, and your company. This webinar is for you who have already adapted to or want to adapt to a hybrid workplace, but need guidance to finding out the right way of scheduling your workforce. Please keep in mind that the hybrid workplace does not suit all companies, not all departments, and nor does it suit all people. My name is Gertrude. I'm responsible for making our partners' clients' workplace work every day. With me today, I have Kasper Julitz again to follow up on the last webinar. Thank you for joining.
Yeah, thank you for having me, Gertrude. My name is Kasper Julitz. I'm responsible for our product strategy and product vision here in Pronestor. And hybrid models and scheduling strategies are more relevant than ever, so it's going to be super cool.
Before we begin, please notice that you can use the chat function right here to send us questions. You can send them throughout the webinar if you like. We will answer all of them in the end of the webinar. At the last webinar, we talked about how companies are returning to the future, aka returning to the office. And you have something you want to say about that?
Yeah, so we have looked into the data from most of our cloud customers to see the return to the office. What do we see is happening? And we have looked into all the meeting room bookings that has occurred for the last 4 years. The line that is highlighted from January till April is actually a summarize of all the room bookings for Q1 2022. And the interesting thing is that it shows a very clearly trend of the massive return to the office compared to both during COVID, but also before COVID. So we're quite amazed that it's so steep. And this does emphasize the need to make your office work going forward. Yep.
Who does this cover? Like, where does this data come from?
Yeah, it comes from our cloud customers, and it's for 4-year booking history, and it covers both Danish customers as well as international customers. So it's quite a heavy deck of data that we have used to get this trend line from.
Thank you. So last time we also talked about 3 specific companies and their workplace strategies. Let's just do a quick tour of those models. That was Twitter, Google, and Apple, and the models that they have decided to go with. So as you can see, Google has gone with the semi-flexible model where employees can work from home twice a week and they decide themselves which days. Then you have Twitter, who's going with the completely flexible model, where each employee decides for themselves where they want to work at all times. And then Apple, that is going with the fixed model where employees can work from home 2 days a week, and the remaining 3 days they have to be in office, and these days are decided by management. These 3 tech companies have different hybrid model strategies, and they require different scheduling strategies as well. If you decide to go with the hybrid model, for your organization, kind of like Google, Twitter, Apple, ourselves, you need a plan to find out when and where your employees are working. And you need to have a scheduling strategy for your workforce. If you don't have a scheduling strategy, it will be difficult to manage your workforce in a hybrid setup. No one will know when or where the colleagues are working. So Kasper, could you tell me about these strategies?
Yeah, we are looking into two different strategies of scheduling. One of them is team scheduling. The other one is custom scheduling. And let's start with the team scheduling. Team scheduling is the strategy where you are splitting your workforce into multiple teams or even teams of sub-teams, depending on the size of your organization and each team. And then you let the different teams work in the office on different days. So you may say that one team is working Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and the other one on Tuesday and Thursday. Or you could even make it bi-weekly. One team comes in 1 week, and the other teams are on a separate week. And as we have depicted on this small floor plan, you can see how the shift during the week could change or during the bi-weekly or every day.
So basically what you're saying is if you're dividing your workforce into 2 or more groups that work different schedules, it's called team scheduling, and they're never in the office at the same time. I see this working for businesses like support or supporting teams, kind of like our IT support here. We need someone in the office every day, but we don't necessarily need all of them at the same day. So who else could this work for?
If we look into different industries or teams, I would say that those kind that are very much reliant on having certain people in the office at a specific time, that could be within each team, but it could also be for a company like architects where they are planning a new project, building a new building. They have the whole project management where they have to set up the whole project. They need to be in the office at the same time, and they could then say, well, our planning team is coming in on these 3 days a week, where they can kick off this whole project. It could also be other specific tasks within each team that require them to come in on specific days that are brainstorming, project alignment, and even more soft elements like mentoring and nursing culture, which works the best when we are together as in person.
It makes sense. So the team scheduling strategy could work for different departments that do not need to collaborate face to face. And then instead they could actually use the same facilities.
Exactly, yeah.
I see how this could work for me as an employee and how I could benefit from this. I will always know who's in the office on which days, and that would make it easy for me to plan in-office meetings. What are the benefits of going with the team scheduling model for you as an employer?
Yeah, from an employer's point of view, I would say the most obvious thing that most people talk about is that you can reduce office size. Since you don't need 100% of your workforce in office every day, you could look into reducing your office size if you have the data to support this. Again, you need to be aware of some companies, they have these town hall meetings or all man on deck days. And in those cases, you might need still to have 100% desk coverage in the office. For the leftover desks that you might have or leftover square meters that you might have, you could also look into how can we take those square meters and put it into value in our already existing office to have certain areas that covers new purposes like collaboration space or breakout rooms, hangout places, which will make the office much more worth going into. But when you have divided your teams into sub-teams and you have set that schedule, you're all done. So from a scheduling point of view, it's quite simple, but not that flexible.
I don't see this offering a lot of flexibility for me personally. So I think that is a consequence for the employees. But what about consequences on an organizational level?
Yeah, as you mentioned, Gertrude, if you and I were not in the office on the same day when we have to plan a meeting like this, it will not be that effective. So you could suffer from some consequences due to this kind of rigid setup, both in regards to efficiency, but also the social aspects between team members and the different teams if you do not have an overlap during the week. And from an organizational point of view, you should be aware of that organizational silos could occur. So that's just something that you need to be aware of. It's not that it's doomed to happen, but it's something that you need to be aware of with this scheduling strategy.
Of course, that makes sense. So this was the team scheduling. Then we have the custom scheduling. What can you say about this setup?
Yeah, so the custom scheduling is the strategy where you actually put the whole planning over to the employees so they can set their own unique schedules depending on the task that they need to perform and the colleagues that they need to work with. So they are planning themselves. So which task gives most sense for me to come into the office to perform? It might be that I have the quiet space, or I need to reach out to my colleagues that are relevant for a given task. So that whole planning phase is something that we put in the hands of the employees. It does require, it's the kind of schedule that requires highly customizable scheduling. It requires a lot of planning, because if I have not insight into your calendar or your plans, then it can be quite difficult. Because I need to know who's in the office before I come in. I need to ensure that a desk is available for me on those specific days.
This setup is the setup that we use here, and I find it very useful. I also see it working very well for other companies and for some of our clients as well. There are simply just some tasks that are better performed, I think, at home, where you can focus. If I was to come into the office on a day where I had a focused task, I would probably book a meeting room to sit there and not be disturbed by you, for instance. And then there are other tasks where you just need your colleagues, you need to brainstorm, you need to sit in the same room to come with ideas. For instance, when we do webinars like this, we have a team of 4 people, we work together. We need to know where we are at all times when we are planning. We need to sit together, we need to test lighting. You and I need to go through a few of these things, which makes it easier for us to have a webinar like this. So those tasks, I'd say, needs me in the office, and I need you to know where I am.
Exactly. And for that whole thing to work, we need to have a tool that can accommodate those requirements, transparency, and then an idea on where people are at and which desks are available on given days. And it should be something that could be handled by the employee, and then assisted or aligned with management as well. So it will work for all of us.
Yeah, as you said, I mean, for me to help me with having this overview, I would definitely need a tool for planning my week, to choose the best place to do my task. I would need transparency to see where you are or other people that I need to work with if you're in the office. I will need people to know, like you guys, to know where I am so you can find me if you need me. And I need a tool to help me with team days so that I can put together a group and sit us wherever required, specific areas, specific meeting rooms, specific desks with the right resources. What about you as an employer?
Yeah, so from my point of view, I would say that I have to have an idea on how our office is being used. That comes down to the factual data as the first starting point. Having an idea, do we have too many, too few desks? So in that case, I can upscale or downscale our square meters, or use those square meters as mentioned before in different scenarios. I need to have an idea which desk I use more than others. If we have an activity-based workplace, then I would say that some of the desk on 3rd floor is not being used that much. Should we rearrange or whatever is required to have that come into the game? I also need an idea on, do we have peak days throughout the weeks where most of our colleagues are coming in, that we need to ensure that we have enough desks, that we have office personnel that assist those are in the office, fresh fruit, should we upscale or downscale lunches to avoid food waste? And whatever I need to ensure that when you as an employee come into the office, you will expect or see an office where everything works, and you will see it as being an outstanding office.
That's a way of keeping me here.
Yes.
So the conclusion is you will need a tool to maintain all of this. For me, I'd say it would be troublesome to use an Excel sheet or just use Outlook to keep up with everything. If I could have a tool that gave me that complete overview, I would find that very valuable.
Yeah, and for those that are using Excel or Outlook, we hear that they see it as a kind of reporting tool, and that is not where we're heading with our tools. It's a tool that should assist you and give you the option of planning your week, and then help align the transparency to your colleagues, so we can have that up and running. And again, if you as a company do not have a state-of-the-art tool for digitalizing this process, you will lose your employees, which is your most valuable assets in any company. And please note that it's not about who is working where and when and how much. It's more with the focus on the use of the office equipment that we have in place for our colleagues. We need to ensure that that they have a desk, they have the correct desk, and they have access to the colleagues that they need to deliver a great job.
I'm really happy that you're saying that, because I'm really happy that it's not about managing or overviewing how much I'm in the office or how I use this, but it's just about the facilities around it.
Exactly.
Okay, I think we have an understanding now of the difference between the custom scheduling and the team scheduling, as well as we have an understanding of the flexible work, flexible hybrid, the flexible setup, like the hybrid flexible setup, the semi-flexible, and the fixed setup for companies. So we've talked a lot about these benefits for me as an employee, because I am an employee, so that's why I'm putting that hat on all the time. And yes, we've mentioned what the companies gain from implementing a hybrid setup, but when I talk with my peers or with my partners, with my network, I often hear them discussing what strategies there are, we just mentioned them, and how to choose which one to go with. So we have created a list of tips for you guys, which you can use to discuss internally to find out what scheduling options you could use. Keep in mind, as I also mentioned before, this is not something that suits every single employee. It's about your colleagues. It's about how you feel about working from home, how you feel about not seeing your colleagues every day, not seeing your manager every day. And it's also about your manager and the way that they work, how they want to help you and care for you, and about the department and the tasks of your department. So can the task actually be handled from home, or do you need to sit in office, collaborate with your colleagues, or use some facilities that are here in the office? So these are things that you need to take into consideration. But let's go to the tips. Kasper, can you please start?
Yeah, so we have made it as a way of implementing, or as you said, discussion points, but I will also say it's a list of tips that you could revisit when you're in the process of going hybrid or are in a hybrid mode, because a lot of things need to be revisited for evaluation. The first and foremost tip that I would say is necessary is involve your employees, consult them on what they want and what strategy they prefer. Not asking your employees or involving them in this process will definitely lead to employees fleeing from your workplace. And you have to come into the consideration that both the employee but also the employer needs to find a middle ground on how to make this work. For a start, that's for sure. The second thing I would say is so important is that you as a company, you need to come about, what's the whole purpose of going hybrid? What are the benefits, and what needs to be kept aware of during this process?
So tip number 3, because this is something that I already mentioned, is having a scheduling tool for your employees. It should be a scheduling tool that delivers transparency and insight, and it should support the hybrid strategy that you have chosen for your company. Sorry. For the fourth tip, I say the rollout plan is very important. You can't go 0 to 100 overnight. You can't just go from 100% remote working to hybrid. You need to do this over time. You need somebody to oversee it, seeing that everything works. You need facility management to be in on this. You need HR to be in on this and finding out how you support their decisions throughout the day or their work as well. So a rollout plan, and communicate this rollout plan to the entire company. It's very important that everybody is aligned and everybody knows what is going to happen and when.
Yeah, and the 5th is adjust along the way. So one thing is that you have a plan, but you have to expect that you need to adjust as you get more information, more knowledge about the way that you have chosen that your initial plan should start. It will change over time. And it might be that some teams are going from a team scheduling to a custom scheduling. So have that in mind when you do this transition. And yeah, do some follow-up with this, for instance, with a survey, reach out to your employees, your managers, the company to see where you're at after a given period, because it's so important that it's not just something that is fixed. If you look into the last 6 months or 12 months, how much has changed? And I'm pretty sure that things will change going forward and more rapidly than we have expected earlier.
So these are our points on going hybrid and finding the right scheduling solution for you. If you want to try the solution that we have created to maintain our scheduling here at Pronestor, you will receive a free trial of our Pronestor workspace after this webinar. We use it every day. We have clients using it every day. Test it, see what works for you. If you have any questions, I think we are now there where we can start taking questions and we're ready to answer. You can put them in here, just type them in right there. Your first name will be visible for others, but not your last name. So you will be, let's call it semi-anonymous. Could you call it that?
You could.
You mentioned something that, how much can we reduce the number of desks? Well, I would say that varies.
Yeah.
Will you take it?
Yeah, it's not that with the Pronestor tools that you will have a magic, fortune class ball that you can look into to see where it's heading. So you need to gather some information, some data on the use that you have, and then take that data as a good foundation for discussing where to proceed. So gather the data, and as our first tip, involve your employees to see which direction fits the company, the department, or the individual. So have that in mind.
So maybe you will go 50-50, or like remove 50% because you have 50% working all the time, or you can just do 20%, take that away. I think it depends, as you say, on the setup and how you work. But yeah, use the data to see what it looks like.
And take care, be careful about not, really releasing your office space just when you have an idea that you don't need that much.
Yeah.
Gather the data and see where you're heading before doing anything dramatically.
It's about adjusting again.
Yes.
Let's take the next one. Would you suggest starting with a team model or fixed model and then transitioning to more flexibility later? I wouldn't suggest starting with one or the other. I think you have to, again, look at the tasks that you have in your department or in your company. You could do the fixed/team model just for one department in an entire company. You could easily do that and have different hybrid setups for your entire company, for all the departments. I would involve my colleagues and then obviously test it, see what works, and decide on the tasks that you have. Can you do them from home? Can you do them from the office? Do you need anyone?
Yeah. And again, as you've emphasized, Gertrude, it's not a company strategy that you should look at. It's more a strategy per team or per individual, and what works best in order to make the task being solved in the best possible way. And again, it's about this work-life balance where we need to ensure that we give you as an employee the best options for making your day work. Because if we, as you as an employee, give you the best options, I'm sure that the task being solved is being solved to 100%, and that will work for the company and for our customers. So it's so important.
We have an interesting question here from another one. How to deal with different expectations from employees' side. Some prefers work mostly remotely, others in the office. How to find the optimal solution for everyone? Well, I can say here at our office, we do have some colleagues that are working 100% remotely who are hardly ever in the office, only for special team days. And then we have some that would be you, who are here almost every day. And then me, I'm here 3 days a week. So if you have the possibilities in your office to actually do that, like having these different types of working for different individuals, then I'd say that that is a good way of doing it. If it is a department where you need to find out how it works for your exact department, I think testing it is a good idea. I think many people who think they need to be in the office every day find that they actually enjoy working from home as well, and the other way around. I think it's a very personal thing, and it's very task-based. So test it, adjust it, and find out what works. Like discuss it internally in the team as well. I hope that answered your question.
Yeah. So going hybrid is not a free ride for everyone, nor for the employees, nor for the employer. It does take some time and effort for everybody to make this work. And that's, I think, is the point that we agree upon, Gertrud, is it requires both the employee to be involved and give some, and from the employer to pitch in and give some to make this work. Yeah.
I think we're getting a follow-up question. Let's just touch briefly upon activity-based workspace. You just mentioned it before in regards to finding out how the office should work. Could you talk a little bit more about what you mean with that?
So with activity-based work style, which is actually something that came up much earlier than the COVID time, is about I come into the office, I find a desk that fits the purpose of the task that I need to perform. Some days I might see it sit next to somebody in delivery, you, Gertrud. Other days I might sit next to Mathias or Patricia for a task relating to marketing. So we actually find a space in the company that fits the task that we're going to solve. So I don't have a fixed desk. I need to find a desk that is close to the colleagues that I work with. So yeah, choosing an activity in the office and finding the equipment that fits that purpose the best.
Thank you. I think that makes sense in our company. Let's see if, yes, we have the follow-up question here. What if managers want to see most of staff in office, but employees prefer to work remotely? How to make both parties satisfied? I do see different companies working like that or having this discussion. I think what you could do is, and I would be happy to help you with that, find the benefits for the company so that the managers understand how they can benefit from having their employees working remotely at times. I mean, for me personally, having the possibility of working from home optimizes my work-life balance, and that makes me happier. And when I'm happier, I'm also happier here. I'm a better employee to my managers. So I think that is one of the benefits. But yeah, let's see if we can put together a list of real benefits for managers.
Yeah. And one thing, just a small note on that one, is we have talked about companies having a purpose, but now we're talking about having an office with a purpose. What's the purpose of having an office? And have both managers and employees pitch in on what they expect to have this open dialogue, because it doesn't work just by everybody sitting with their own idea and their own expectation. They need to pitch in on a mutual understanding of the purpose of the office.
Yeah, because you could see you are a manager and you work here all the time, but your employees are elsewhere. Let's take this one. I think this will be the last question today. How would you handle the employees who are reluctant to come back to work, back to the office, despite the fact that they are needed by the other colleagues in the office? I think you take that one. I mean, I know that my colleagues expect things from me, like I expect things from them. So I would always come in if they need me. I think that's the way you collaborate together. And I think that's very important to make sure that everyone around you are happy. If you don't want to come into the office, am I losing it here?
No. I think it's all about acknowledging why we need each other as persons, as colleagues, but also both from a social point of view, but also in regards to the tasks that we need to solve for the company to win. So you definitely need to have that conversation up and running, even though it can be difficult, I must admit.
I would go to my manager if I had a colleague who would never come into the office and I needed that person. I would be a little bit irritated, I'll have to say. I think it's about both ways. We need to communicate and we need to make each other happy, always. Do we have time to take this question that's coming in? I can just round up and then we can see if we have time for the question. As I mentioned before, well, first of all, thank you all for joining. As I mentioned before, we will send you an email after this one. It will include this webinar and a link to the previous webinar if you want to see that. And it will include the free trial for Pronestor Workspace. You're always welcome to contact us, as I said, to just hear about what we can do, or if you just want to discuss this matter with you. Okay, it was just a thank you. Thank you so much all for joining. Thank you, Casper. Thank you, team. We look forward to seeing you next time.